Hi, this is Mrs. Knopf, and today we are going to continue in our method book with line 48, Polly Wolly Doodle. So we're going to start at the beginning. We're going to go over everything. We're going to look for patterns and hopefully make this easier for you to digest. So as always, we start with our bass clef at the beginning. Then we have our key signature. We have two flats. We have our B flat on the second line that tells us all B's are flat. And then we have our E flat on the third space, tells us all E's are flat. And the two flats in this instance tells us we are in the key of B flat. Then we have our time signature. We're in 4/4 time. That means we have 4 beats in every measure. And the bottom number is the value of the whole note. So we have a whole note that gets 4 beats. Half of a whole is a half, so half of 4 is 2. If we had any half notes, they would get 2 beats. Still important to remember. Then half of a half is a quarter, half of 2 is 1, so if we had any quarters, they would get 1 beat. Next, half of a quarter is an eighth, and half of 1 is a half, not 0. So that is super important because most of this tune is eighths. Whether it's eighth notes like what we have paired together at the beginning, 2 eighth notes that are connected by a single beam, or eighth note, eighth rest combination. So this fancy looking 7 is an eighth rest. That's like an eighth note that doesn't get played. All this is really showing you is that you are playing the downbeat and there's space. Downbeat and space. So don't look at all of those eighth note, eighth rest combinations and think it's really super complicated. It doesn't have to be. So we also have eighth notes that are grouped in 4s. So it's still a single beam, and that's what makes them eighth notes. So individually, they still get half a beat. It's just we have 1 on the downbeat, followed by 1 on the upbeat, downbeat, upbeat. So another note value that we need to address is right here. We have a dotted half note. You may remember that a dot adds half of a note's value to it. So if you remember that the half note gets 2 beats, half of 2 is 1, boom, that dotted half note gets 3 beats. So give it its full value and you'll be all right. Okay, so at the beginning we're in 4/4 time, but we have these 2 eighth notes all by themselves. This is a pickup or an anacrusis. So we start our first full measure right here after this first bar line. So we're going to go through and look for our patterns. So we start just going from B flat in first, up to C out in 6th, up to D in 4th. So you want the top of your slide just about even with your bell. And you're going to play those 3 notes several times. So we have 1, 6, 4, 4, 1, and I'm giving you your positions. You repeat that pattern twice. B flat, C, D, D, B flat. Then we pick up into the last measure of line 1. So we have B flat, C, 4 D's in a row, D, 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 slide into 3rd. So you want where you are gripping the slide, where you are holding the slide, not grip. That's about even with the bell. And then back out to 4th. And then we go to the next line. That dotted half note is 6th position C. All right. So just make sure you're keeping everything nice and steady, good, steady tempo and beat. Then after the dotted half note, we have the same pattern from the beginning, just down a step. So on that first space, we have an A, 2nd position. So you want just a little bit of your inner slide showing, maybe about the width of your finger. So we have A in 2nd, B flat in 1st, out to C in 6th. We've got 2 of those, back to the A, and you need to be precise. When you are moving your slide, make sure you tongue at the right time, otherwise you get a glissando effect, and you don't want that. 2, 1, 6, 6, 2, and that happens twice. Then going into the last couple of measures, we have the same rhythm, but different note patterns. And I'm going to tell you a little secret, all right? Don't tell your band director, even though they probably already know. If you're going from a C in sixth position and you're going to an F, you can stay in sixth position. That's quite a bit easier. So if you have to move quickly and you don't technically have to move, I wouldn't. If your band director tells you to do something different, go with what your band director tells you. I'm just some lady on the internet. But I will tell my kids, C in sixth position, stay in sixth for the 4 F eighth notes that follow. Then you go into third for the 2 E flats, back out to sixth for the 2 Cs, and then you really don't have any choice. You have to go back to first position for the last B flat. So I'm going to start my metronome. It's at 80 beats per minute. That's going to give me time to move around. I hope you can play along with me. Start each note with a T sound. And here we go. So I'm going to count off 1, 2, 3 at the beginning. I'll come in on beat 4. There'll be some variation of that, but it's the 4th beat where you start playing. There we go. 1, 2, 1 and 2 and. And that's it. I hope you're able to keep up and play along with me. If you were able to, that's great. If you had a little bit of trouble and you needed to slow it down, maybe work on a section or two, that's fine. Work on the things that aren't easy, and then they will become easy. So again, listen to your band director, and I hope this has been helpful. We'll see you next time.